So in this video, we're going to be dissecting how you get paid off of token broker transactions. Let's just recap for those that may not have seen the last video. Token broker transactions are when someone or a customer comes to your GX brokerage via the checkout link and purchases tokens. Right now, the only thing people are doing are token broker transactions because everyone is using their GX brokerage to sell GXT. So that is actually a perfect version, a perfect example of how the token brokerage will actually function for you, because after August 1st, we'll be opening up the token broker product for other token issuers to be able to leverage this network of brokers and the software to be able to distribute their tokens. So you'll be able to go on and actually select which one of your favorite products or which one of your favorite projects you want to pull in and distribute, and we'll be working with those companies in order to make sure that's streamlined. So right now we're testing everything out with GXT for this product. We're super excited about it. So realistically, if you take a look at what the token broker is actually doing, is it's disintermediating or making everyone some type of quasi investment bank. What was really interesting about when we were putting this together is, like, you have token issuers that are issuing tokens, whether it's from ICOs, IEOs, I mean, whatever you want to call it, whatever token is being issued. And then they are distributing that to the public markets via some type of offering. And now with the token broker product, they can actually plug in their token to our brokerage apparatus, which is, will hopefully be thousands and thousands of brokers one day. And immediately they have all of these people who are agents to some degree of their product. And so now the brokers can choose, just like a Goldman Sachs banker would have been able to choose which one of the companies that are going public he likes, and he would be able to take that to his client base to be able to say, hey, listen, this is the next big hot stock, or this is the next big token. I think you should take a look at it. And you have this entire system where the broker becomes the link between the token purchaser and the token issuer, and you do that in a completely disintermediated way, which is, I think, a very fascinating innovation in the way that investment banking is going. ICOs were already such an innovation in iBanking, but this is now taking the actual functional process of fulfillment and even decentralizing that. So that's the long-term vision for token broker. But functionally, what it is, it's allowing brokers to be able to sell tokens and get compensated in a way that they haven't been able to do until now. And so let's take a look at it. When a company issues a token, and we're going to use global exchange right now. When a company issues a token, it's going to be selling it in whatever currency, Ethereum probably, but let's just say it's going to be denominated in the GXBroker platform in dollars. And so, for example, if some customer comes and purchases $100 worth of tokens today from your brokerage, the total transactional volume, which I talked about in video 1, TTV, is $100. Then there's a next term that you're going to have to learn, which is called total transactional revenue. And the total transactional revenue is the percentage of the total transactional volume that is actual revenue for the company. When we say the company, we're talking about global exchange, which is then shared amongst the brokers. And so for all three different types of transactions, token broker, OTC broker, and digital broker, a percentage of the volume is revenue. And the percentage is different for all three, and you're going to understand why. It makes quite common sense. When a company is issuing a token, 100% of the volume is revenue, because there's no cost of production for that token. There's no new fulfillment that needs to be done apart from the token needs to be sent to them. And so if someone came and purchased $100 worth of tokens, the TTV is $100 and the TTR is $100. In other words, in token broker transactions, total transactional volume equals total transactional revenue for the company. And so now that becomes 100% of the revenue that we have to divide between the company, the broker dealer, and the broker. And so this is how we're going to break it up. As a broker, there are two types of revenues that you can receive. There is direct transactional revenue and there is indirect transactional revenue. So now let's break it down. And a good thing, this will be also on a computer so you can visualize it. There's total transactional volume. That's the total that's the total notional value of the transaction in US dollars. There's total transaction revenue, the percentage of that which is actual revenue being generated. And then in your brokerage, you're going to have two types of revenue. There's direct transactional revenue and indirect transactional revenue. Direct transactional revenue is volume and revenue that come directly from your brokerage, i.e., someone goes on your link and purchases those tokens. Indirect transactional revenue is someone goes on anyone in your brokerage's link and purchases the token. That qualifies as indirect transactional revenue, whereas if they did it through yours, it would be direct transactional revenue, DTR and ITR. Now, you get compensated differently for your direct transactional revenue and your indirect transactional revenue. Direct transactional revenue is very simple for token transactions. You get 15% of all of the total transactional revenue, which we just learned is total transactional volume. So let me simplify what I just said. Someone comes and purchases $100 of tokens using your link. The total transactional volume is $100. The total transactional revenue is also $100. You receive, and since that was direct transaction to you, you are going to receive 15% of that in DTR, in direct transactional revenue, which is $15. So that is exactly how you get compensated on direct transactional revenue from token broker transactions. Now, how do you get compensated from indirect transactional revenue from token broker transactions? This is what we are super excited about. This is the innovative part. Many companies have struggled with putting together a compensation plan that actually builds in a meritocracy. Many companies have struggled in building a compensation plan that can compensate you on unlimited levels. Our mission when we put together our compensation plan, as I mentioned in the earlier video, was we need to compensate everyone on every transaction. And so this is a technology we created specifically for this purpose called Broker Chain, right? You can find it at brokerchain.io. And we're going to release it as open source so that any company can actually leverage what we're talking about. And what Broker Chain is, it's a unique way of leveraging private blockchains to be able to do revenue sharing in an unlimited fashion for every transaction that occurs, which is exactly what you need in indirect transactional revenue because you're getting paid on levels that are much removed from you, right? So you get 15% on token broker transactions when it's using direct, so they buy it directly from you. But if it's not bought directly from you, it goes into something called Broker Chain. So if you haven't, there's going to be a video that explains just what the Broker Chain is, like conceptually. Stop here and watch that video and come back to watch the remainder of this video so that it makes sense. Because I'm going to assume you understand what Broker Chain is, and I'm going to go straight into the numbers. So we'll link to that video, but please go watch it. Now, so I'm assuming you've come back and you've now watched that video, so you understand how Broker Chain works and what's so incredible about it. So let's actually go into how the Broker Chain manifests itself into the token broker transactions. So 5% of the total transactional revenue in token broker transactions goes into Broker Chain. So 15% goes to the direct, 5% goes into Broker Chain. And that Broker Chain is now going to go up every single person in a unilevel fashion who touched this transaction. And so the way I like to explain it is if you had Tim, who has a brokerage, Tim was successful in starting up another brokerage for Bob. So you have Tim and then you have Bob, and then Bob onboarded a broker called Lisa. So now you have Tim, Bob, and Lisa processes a transaction for one of her customers for let's say $1,000 worth of tokens. And so Lisa is the direct. And so Lisa gets the 15% of that transaction. So Lisa makes $150. So Lisa doesn't participate in the Broker Chain. The Broker Chain skips Lisa because she got the most amount of the money and goes into the next person, which was Tim. And so Tim, I believe it was Tim, I don't even remember the two names I gave. I'm just going to assume the person that signed up Lisa. Tim is the first recipient of the Broker Chain's transaction, which was 5%. And what Tim gets is 1/3 of the Broker Chain. So in this case where it's $1,000, 5% is $50. $50 goes into the Broker Chain, jumps over Lisa because Lisa already got compensated, and Tim gets the first piece of that Broker Chain. And so Tim takes 1/3 of that. So 1/3 of $50, which is, 18 something, right? So that Tim would take that, and that's his compensation. Then what's remaining moves up the broker chain to Bob. So now $50 minus what Tim took moves up. And then Bob takes his piece out of the broker chain, which is also 1/3. And so Bob takes 1/3 of that, what's left in the broker chain. And then that keeps going up and up and up and up. And so everyone takes 1/3 of what is left. And when you divide something, you can actually divide it infinitely by 1/3, and that is how you can pay unlimited levels in the broker chain. So that means any given person will have multiple broker chains going at once for multiple product lines. That's how we're able to compensate on every transaction. And if you look at the meritocracy, the people that are closest to the transactions make the most money. The direct makes by far the most money, and then the people that are closest make the most money. But even if you're 1,000 levels removed from this transaction, you still get compensated on it. And so you can really understand the power that lies in how deep that can go, how wide that can go. It's really incredible. So now you get it. There's 15% of the token broker transaction that's paid to the direct, 5% goes into broker chain to be shared by all of the brokers that led to this transaction. So that's 20% of the total transactional volume, which in this case equals total transactional revenue of all token broker transactions that we paid out to the broker. And so every single effort that you put in for the token broker, you get compensated on. It's truly remarkable, and it's by far the most lucrative commission we have out of all three, because you sell, $100,000 worth of tokens, you're making 15 grand off of that. We pay out weekly. That's like, I'm going to go into logistics in the last video, but just to give you an idea, in the case of the GXT, we are going to sell $40 million worth of GXT in phase 2, and so we're paying out 20% of that entire amount to brokers, and most of it to the direct that's selling it. And so it's really, really lucrative. And just think, every year, let's say there's 2 to 3 really solid ICOs that are coming out. You have the ability to take those to the market and get paid very handsomely, because if an ICO wants to use GXBroker's network, they have to abide by this comp plan. So they're already coming in saying, we are allocating this much of our total token offering to the GX brokers. And so we've standardized that process. And with the GXT, obviously, there's an enormous amount of money to be made in the next couple of months. And the token broker is really the upfront, the hard cash. It's really lucrative in the short term. And then in the next videos, especially if you can understand the contrast between direct and indirect transactional volume and how much you can make off that, in the next video, we're going to talk about OTC transactions, which have the same philosophy. All of them have direct and indirect revenue. All the direct is handled by your direct brokerage. Indirect is governed by the broker chain. Same principle. The only difference is the percentages. So let me just do a quick recap here. Token broker transactions, 100% of the volume is 100% of the revenue. The direct person who's in charge, the direct broker who sold the tokens gets 15%. 5% goes into the broker chain to be distributed through every single person, every broker that led to that transaction. And so it's 20% being paid out to the brokers upfront immediately in a very meritocratic fashion. So we're super excited about that. So I'll catch you in the next video to go over OTC transactions.